What's up, everybody? About 6 to 8 weeks ago, if you look back on my channel, I made a video that said, sell your Avata and goggles too. Now, there's only one reason why I said that, and that is because the Avata 2 was coming. And I try to warn you guys, I hope you listened. But anyway, we're going to be talking about some first impressions here of the DJI Avata 2 with the goggles 3. And this is my first impression from a non-YouTuber perspective. So let's get this video started. What's going on, everybody? This is Eddie, aka Mr. Eddie Nunez. There is a lot to cover today about the Avata 2. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at my notes because I want to make sure that I let you know up front everything that I'm going to be covering. I want to make this video sort of as short and as informative as possible. So I want to give you my immediate impressions right out the gate of the Avata 2. I want to talk about the camera dynamic range. We're going to discuss the goggles 3 and specifically the pass-through on those goggles 3. We're going to talk about the remote. That's right, there's a new remote. And then we'll sum it up with my overall conclusions. But let's jump right into first impressions on the Avata 2. Let me tell you, today's the first day that I've flown it. And immediately, as soon as I put this little guy in manual mode and took off, wow, you're going to love it. Compared to an Avata 2, and this is not going to be a comparison video because that's going to be my next video coming up, comparing the Avata 1 to the Avata 2. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already. But immediately, as a daily, almost daily Avata flyer, when I flew the Avata 2, there was an incredible difference in terms of its flight performance. 1, it is very agile. 2, it is extremely quiet. And 3, it floats in the air. Literally, it floats in the air. You're going to feel so much difference when you throttle up on that stick. I'm sure if you're an Avata 1 flyer today, an Avata 1 pilot, when you throttle up, that little guy doesn't move so quickly. But the Avata 2 just kind of takes off, and it does it in such an incredible way where you can really get all those cinematic shots that you want to capture with a Cine whoop. Now, there are a few things that have sort of contributed to this change in flight characteristics. Number 1 is that it is now tri-blade here, so the propellers are tri-blade versus fan blade on the Avata 1. 2, the motors are now no longer a pusher style motors or setup. It's now configured like a traditional FPV drone, like any traditional drone that matter. And 3, the airframe is a little larger than the Avata 1, but in a good way. Also, all the ducts have completely changed its style compared to the Avata 1. But we're going to stop comparing the Avata 2 to the Avata 1. And from now on, we're going to be just specifically talking about and focused on the Avata 2. There is one thing that I was truly hoping for on the Avata 2 when I started to see the leaks, and that is an improved camera. Now, although we're not getting that 1-inch sensor that we kind of all hoped for, let me tell you right off the bat, this camera is a game changer in terms of dynamic range. This camera, it is such a huge improvement over DJI's previous FPV drone lineup, which is the FPV drone and the Avata 1. There is just incredible amounts of details, especially when you're shooting towards the sun, when you're in high contrasty areas. This now also shoots in D-Log-M, so you can go ahead and really push those colors and really grade to your style. So no longer are you limited only to D-Cine-like. Now, this camera does shoot in a 4K aspect ratio, But what is new is that you can now shoot in 4:3 60 frames per second, which is going to be such a game changer, especially if you're stabilizing in post using GyroFlow. Now, if you don't want to go ahead and post process in GyroFlow or Real Steady, I have some good news for you. We have a new version of Rocksteady, which also improves the in-body stabilization. And I noticed quite a significant difference on that as well. So now I did notice a little bit of distortion and warping in the corners, but that's probably just because of Rocksteady and what it needs to do in terms of the algorithm to go ahead and stabilize that footage. I'm going to continue using GyroFlow. I think GyroFlow is going to yield the best results possible. But in case you don't want to do that, you have the new Rocksteady, which is going to yield some incredible results right out of the drone. Now, besides just the Avata 2, we have all new gear. So we have new remotes, motion controller, new FPV controller, and of course we have the new goggles. So these are the Goggles 3, and you know, I was really impressed with the Avata 2, but let me tell you, I was even more impressed with the Goggles 3. Now, the Goggles 3, I'm going to go ahead and place this here. Hopefully my Sony A1 is smart enough to keep me in focus, but the Goggles 3, what I was most impressed about is how it fits on my head. So previously with the older goggles, whether they were the Integras or the Goggles 2, I had a really big strain or pressure on my nose bridge. I do have a big nose. And then I had all sorts of light leaks that no matter what I did, what I purchased, I couldn't get them to sit right on my face. And these Goggles 3 are immersive to the point that there is zero light leaks all throughout your face as you're flying. And then the most hyped up or talked about feature on these goggles is the pass-through camera system that it has. So the pass-through cameras is a really smart and innovative idea from DJI. I think that it will have sort of its use case in specific scenarios. As of now, in my testing, in order to go ahead and use the pass-through cameras, you have to double tap on the side pretty hard in order to activate that pass-through system. Which, if I'm going to do that, to be quite honest, I might just want to lift up my goggles like I showed you. Now, unfortunately, the goggles don't lift up to the point that let's say, you know, the old Phantom 4 headset where you can lift them up. This won't do that. So it doesn't have sort of that full range of motion. This thing here on the top is really there to kind of just put pressure on your forehead and alleviate all of that pressure on your nose bridge. But going back to the pass-through system, the pass-through sensor, I think that DJI is on the right track. It does have its use case, like I mentioned earlier. You know, if you want to go ahead and look around you, you can. It's there. But, you know, would I prefer to use the cameras or just lift up my goggles? I rather lift up my goggles. Now, let me talk to you about my experience actually using the pass-through system. When using the pass-through system, you can double tap really quickly on the side, as I mentioned, and then all of a sudden you're going to get a picture-in-picture view. So you're going to see the actual cameras working, the actual pass-through cameras of the goggles. The focal range is pretty weird where it's really kind of cropped in, so you're not really seeing at a natural focal range like your eyes would, if that makes any sense. And you sort of don't have any peripheral visions, but that's expected. It's only 2 cameras here, right? Now, when you do go ahead and double tap on that, you're going to see the cameras on a larger screen on your goggles, and then you're going to see your drone screen on the top left. And obviously, when you do that, your drone will go ahead into position hold mode, and it'll just hover there. So this is going to be great on the Avata 2. Not so great for traditional FPV drone pilots that are using an air unit and a homegrown built drone, right? Because your drone is not going to hover there. So it's really smart and a really nice thing to do for the Avata 2 and any future drones that may be coming down the pipeline. Like I said, did it really sell me on this? I know that initially I was so hyped to see the pass-through cameras. The answer, to be honest, is no. Like, I didn't really feel thrilled about it. But from a Goggle 2 perspective, will I upgrade from previous goggles? Absolutely. Just because of the fitment on my face and also because of the light leaks. That is the best reason why to get these goggles. Besides OcuSync 4, if I haven't mentioned, all of these new technologies here, the remote, the Avata 2, the goggles, comes with OcuSync 4. So as I mentioned earlier, we're now using OcuSync 4, which means you're going to have to get a new motion controller and a new FPV controller. The good news is that it's gonna come with it, right? It's probably gonna come with the motion controller. You're gonna have to buy this separately, but you're gonna have to go ahead and upgrade to this remote. With the motion controller 3, I don't think there's much difference. I know there's a difference in terms of functionality where you can use this, such as like how you would use the Oculus goggles if you're into, you know, those type of goggles where you can use the wand to kind of select in the menu system. Now, the biggest difference to me is with the new FPV Remote 3. So this remote, as you'll notice, has no antenna. So the antennas are now built in internally, and there is a significant weight reduction. If you were to hold this in your hands, it truly feels like a piece of loose leaf paper. Like, it is that light, and I'm not even exaggerating. Once you go ahead and get your hands on this, you're gonna notice this, and you're gonna remember that I said that it is a significant weight reduction. And of course, the removal of the external antennas is a big deal. With using it here, in my experience, I am getting incredible signal penetration, so I don't think that there is any slight degradation of quality when it comes to signal strength and penetration, just because the antennas are internal. Whatever DJI did here, and their creative masterminds and developers, they got it right with the remote controller 3. It's fantastic. Everything else is exactly the same. The buttons are exactly the same. The layout is exactly the same, with the only difference being no antennas and a drastic weight reduction. Now, with the FlyMore bundle, you're going to go ahead and get the 3 batteries, and it's going to come with the same case that comes with your Air 3 or your Mini 4 Pro. I think even the Mini 3 Pro came with this case. You're very familiar with this case, but it makes it super convenient to go ahead and charge by just docking your batteries in here and plugging it in. The batteries as well are extremely lightweight. I am getting about 30 minutes of flight time, and I can go up to 70 miles per hour so far on this Avata 2, which is all truly impressive when it comes to just the engineering and science behind DJI continuing to improve on these cameras, continuing to improve on the overall drone functionality. Time over time again, I think that is pretty amazing. If you do decide to buy the FlyMore kit, which is the way to go, you're gonna notice that it comes with this new bag. It sort of reminds me of the Peter McKinnon sling bag. This is the first time that DJI has created a bag for an FPV drone. It is quite versatile and very useful. Every single piece of equipment fits here. So you have the drone, you have your goggles, you have your remote, you have your motion controller, you have your battery, everything you need, even your ND filters, everything you need goes right into this little bag, and it is extremely useful. And I think this is one of the first bags that DJI has made where you can actually probably even use it for other things besides your FPV drone, but FlyMore is definitely the way to go just because of all that you get. So let's go ahead and close this video out with my overall conclusion from that non-YouTuber perspective. As I shared, I know that I am on YouTube, and when I say that I'm not a YouTuber, when it comes to product reviews, that just means that I'm giving you the real deal. Would I buy this? Will I spend my hard-earned money buying the Avata 2 if I currently already own a Cine or I own the Avata 1? And my answer is a definite yes. And I'm not here to product push. I'm not here selling you yet another drone. That's not the intention of that. When you fly this drone, I think it's when you're really going to notice its amazing capabilities. The dynamic range in that camera, we've all been asking for it. The agility and the flight performance that the Avata 2 has. OcuSync 4 on a Cine where you're going to be flying through gaps. You're going to be flying behind buildings. The new goggles too, with now the pass-through on it, where it's no longer providing you light leaks on the side. It's no longer squeezing your nostrils. It's going to give you that performance that you want from the goggles so you can focus and concentrate on your flight. That's what you're going to get with the Avata 2. And initially, when I opened up the video and I told you about my first initial reaction on my very first battery, it was truly wow. Because again, you're getting sort of that power, the agility, you're getting amazing flight time performance. You feel like you're actually in control. And although this is a Cine, today out here in the field has been slightly windy, and this drone pretty much held up to its class. I mean, it is a Cine. You are going to get some micro jitters, but it handled extremely well. and it's lightweight. It's extremely lightweight. I think that is a huge benefit. Even carrying that FlyMore bag that I showed you earlier, I didn't feel like I was carrying a Mavic 3 on me. I didn't feel like I was carrying the DJI FPV with those huge bulky batteries and the huge goggles. This is now compact. This is now the FPV drone that I'll take with me on vacations. This is now the FPV drones where I'm gonna go ahead and chase a subject because of its speed and its agility. I have full faith on this, and best of all, the camera. My biggest complaint with all of these FPV drones created by DJI in the past has been the camera, and this one solved for it. I hope that the video you saw today and the examples really made you feel as satisfied as I was with the output quality. There's just so much that you can do with that D-Log. There is just so much that you can do in post with the 4:3 aspect ratio and stabilizing it to your liking with gyro flow. There is a lot to want from this thing, and I think DJI did a wonderful job delivering on the Avata 2. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Are you going to be grabbing an Avata 2? Did you already order one by the time that you're watching this video? Do you have any questions that I can answer? And make sure you tune into my next video, which is all about the Avata 1 compared to the Avata 2. Until next time, peace.